Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Thursday, the 11th of November. I'm Derek Clark. I'm joined, as ever, by Jonny McFarlane. Jonny, how are we doing this Thursday morning?
Yeah, good, Derek. Yeah, busy day yesterday, as you might expect. Ready to rock and roll all over again. I'm currently going through Squid Game, so that's keeping me through my
Oh,
busy in the
what a
evenings.
show that is, I tell you. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's terrific. It's mental.
But we're not here to talk about Netflix series. We're here to talk about Rangers Football Club, and life is never dull. Let's talk Steven Gerrard, because it appears he's edging closer to being announced as the new Aston Villa boss. It's been reported this morning he's set to sign a 2.5-year deal. It ties in, I guess, with the end of his Rangers contract the summer of 2024. Ironically, it ties in with the end of Jurgen Klopp's contract as well at Liverpool, which is quite interesting. What have you made of the developments over the past 24 hours, Jonny, and where do Rangers stand at the moment?
Well, I think it's certain that he's going to go to Aston Villa now, isn't it? That much is clear. The mood music has been gathering momentum for that deal to go through. I think it's interesting what you just said, that his contract lasts for 2.5 years at Aston Villa, the same as what it would last at Rangers, which just so happens to coincide with Jurgen Klopp's contract. I'm starting to wonder if Steven Gerrard is back channeling with Liverpool here, because it's odd that Aston Villa would want to sign a manager on a 2.5-year contract. That's a low contract for a new manager. It's normally, isn't it, 3 years, 4 years, sometimes a 1-year rolling deal, depending on what the manager wants. But it's not normally 2.5 years, is it? So maybe there's something going on between Liverpool and Gerrard, whereby there's an agreement there for when he does decide to end this contract, Jurgen Klopp, that Gerrard will take over. Obviously, I think it's really, really disappointing. Very, very disappointing for Rangers fans, who I think we're seeing the reaction for some of them right now. Yeah. See Alan Saunders saying that it's unforgivable. It's certainly a really, really bad time for Rangers to lose their manager. Yes, they're 4 points clear. Yes, they're a good position in the Europa League. And that's what Gerrard will say. He'll say, I'm leaving them in a good spot. But it's a bit Brendan Rodgers-ian, isn't it? It's he's not really leaving them in a good spot. They've got a very difficult period of games coming up. The fixtures that Gerrard's just gone through, the first fixture run, was by far easier than Celtic. Celtic now have a much easier run than Rangers. A lot of tough away games against big clubs. And that's going to be difficult to navigate. And a new man's got to come in, Derek, and hit that ground running. There's not going to be any room for a Pedro Caixinha type appointment here. And I think that's the big thing. It's not someone that comes in and is a philosophy manager that says, oh yeah, this is how I want to play. I've got a grand vision for the team. Whoever comes in is going to have to take on what Steven Gerrard's done and basically carry on that blueprint until the end of the season, when then they might be able to change things or adjust things. It has to be a manager that has the common sense to put ego aside and take this team the way they've been taken so far and set this team up roughly the same way as they've been playing so far, because they've been so drilled, Derek. You can imagine you're asking now Ryan Jack or Glenn Kamara not to cover in for the fullbacks. Imagine you want to ask them to do something different. It's going to be a bit of deprogramming for them to get used to that. That's the way they've played for so long. It just would seem a bit weird to then change that up now. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, it's a big call for Ross Wilson to make. There's no doubt about it. It has to be the right man. I think it has to be a man that plays in a similar fashion to what Steven Gerrard's philosophy was. And like you, I think Rangers don't have the time to bed in a manager, a philosophy manager, so to speak. Maybe another Steven Gerrard, if you like. Someone, I know that people have mooted names like Frank Lampard and John Terry. Rangers don't have time for them to cut their teeth and learn on the job, if you like. And Frank Lampard, for me, No, I don't think I wasn't impressed by his managerial ability. I know he was at Derby and then he went to Chelsea. I think it was more to do with the fact he was a former player. For me, I don't think management, I think the jury's out on him. John Terry, of course, was assistant with Dean Smith at Aston Villa. He's not been the main man before. Dean Smith, for me, would be, ironically, a really good appointment if Rangers were to approach a guy of that calibre. He plays a similar fashion. I think he would command respect. I think he was shabbily treated by Aston Villa, but which should have really acted as perhaps a warning to Steven Gerrard. I mean, they're appointing their 8th manager in a decade now. It's been a revolving door of managers. They love hiring and firing. I don't expect Steven Gerrard will be afforded the time like he was perhaps afforded at Rangers, perhaps. And what does success constitute at Villa? We've talked about this in the last couple of days, Johnny. I've seen I think Scott Minto was mentioning on Talk Sport the other day there that, or it was Gabby Agbonlahor, if he gets him in the top 10, it's a good achievement, and then perhaps next season push for a top 6 finish. That's what Steven Gerrard is. That's his aims now. It's not winning silverware and competing with top teams in Europe. It's merely getting into that top half of the Premier League table, which seems odd.
Yeah, also, it would be something of a miracle to get Villa in the top 6. I mean, who are you usurping? You going to usurp Arsenal, Tottenham? I don't think Villa's squad's anywhere near that level. And listen, I got a lot of stick from Villa fans yesterday for calling them a 10 a penny club, and probably a little unfair. What I was meaning was just that there's a revolving door of these kind of clubs down south, 40,000 seater stadiums, big clubs, the likes of Leeds, the likes of Villa, that will be available to Steven Gerrard at the end of the season. Now, I don't see a huge opportunity at Aston Villa. I just don't. I might be proven completely wrong, but I'll say it again for the Aston Villa fans that might be watching this. The last decade, 3 years in the Championship, their best finish is 11th. That's once. So one time in 9 they came 11th, and 10 they came 11th. The other times, the best performance that they had was 15th. So they're perennial strugglers. There's no Aston Villa are a relegation haunted club. That's facts. Now, yes, they won the European Cup 40 years ago, and yes, Aston Villa are a big club in English football, but not anymore. It's like saying Aberdeen won the Cup Winners' Cup. Yes, and they're a big club in Scottish football. Well, they've not won anything in quite a long time. You've got to be contextual about these things and up to date.
Yeah.
And what I was trying to say about the money is, when everyone has a huge amount of money to spend, it kind of evens the playing field. And yes, Villa are rich. I read yesterday, I thought they were like the 8th or 9th richest club in the league. They're the 6th. But that's still 5 clubs that have got more money than them. And then it's other clubs that can bid for the same players. It's up to them whether or not it's not a big amount of money difference, I would imagine, from Wolves, for example, or other clubs in that division. They're all fishing in the same pond for players. I think it's going to be a difficult one for Steven Gerrard to go down there and make a massive impact. And time will tell on that. But I would have been advising him to take it. But perhaps this is what Liverpool want.
Yeah, it's a good point you make. And I mean, I've seen some Rangers supporters on social media suggest perhaps there was perhaps talks ongoing before the announcement to sack Dean Smith on Sunday. I mean, football is a murky game at times, Johnny, isn't it? I think it'd be folly not to think that tentative talks may have been taking place between Villa and Gerrard. It leaves a bad taste in the mouth. There's no doubt about it. It'll be interesting to watch Steven Gerrard's first press conference at Aston Villa. I'd imagine questions will be raised as to why he decided now is the time to leave. We've talked yesterday.
You'll see. I'm excited by the challenge. It's a huge challenge. They're a European Cup winning club, and I want to be closer to my family. That's what he'll say.
Yeah.
It's the obvious one. And that's, to be fair, that's true. So, but that's kind of like, 101 PR for this kind of move.
Yeah.
And yeah, Martin O'Neill, that is correct, Stuart.
Stuart.
Martin O'Neill was the last manager, and you're going back quite a long way to get to that situation. And the Premier League was just a different environment there.
Yeah. There's a good point with Gallon Pioneer, basically Villa, the English Motherwell. Listen, it's a
Gallon Pioneer's got to come into a lot of stick from angry villains if my game yesterday is anything to go by for that.
Listen, it'll be interesting that I think I had a piece out yesterday where I said that Gerrard will be fondly remembered for delivering 55. There's no doubt about it. I think his legacy is determined on whether Rangers, whoever they appoint, goes on to win the league. I think if they fail to win the league this season, Gerrard will be looked at rather differently. I'd imagine. Johnny, would you agree?
Yes, I do. Because and Gerrard will have his fingers crossed, not just because obviously Rangers will be close to his heart now, and I don't doubt that for a second, but for the very reason you outlined there, he will be very much aware that if it all goes badly from here, then that disaster of a season that would have occurred will be traced back to this moment. It's as simple as that. Rangers are in a very good spot. There's no doubt about that. They're not in a great spot, but they're 4 points clear of Celtic, and they're set up with 1 win in the Europa League they go through. So that's a narrative that you can definitely sell. But it's also a very, very difficult job. I'm writing a piece today about this, about the skill set that is required for the next Rangers manager. I don't know what the guys feel, and I'd love to hear some comments about this. I don't think Rangers can afford to go for a Pedro Caixinha type project coach who is a brilliant coach with a great record, as Pedro Caixinha was. And I'll not have anyone say anything otherwise about Pedro, because his CV proves what he did in other countries. But Scotland is a different ballgame. It's a different style of football, different climate. We're a Thrawn people and very defensive-minded going up against Rangers. People sit back in that low block, really, really tough to break down. You're going away to places like Livingston and the plastic pitch. Rangers can't afford to have some guy come in here with a record of success in Norway or Germany in the second division and take time to get used to that. I just don't believe it, Derek. And listen, I'm the biggest hipster around. I'll back that to the hilt at the end of the season when they've got a pre-season and they've got time to get used to everything. But throwing someone like that in, I think that's a big, big ask. It's going to be really difficult to find a balance between that and someone who will work with the players in the style that they're accustomed to, and someone that knows the Scottish game and what Rangers is all about. And maybe that's why I think so many people believe that Giovanni Van Bronckhorst is very attractive. I'm not 100% sure about Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, because I'm old enough to remember, he left in quite fractious circumstances himself. He won one trophy with Feyenoord, and certainly that's not to be sniffed at. But he didn't have a legacy of real success there. It was one title, and I know he played good football in the Champions League. But maybe that's the situation with Rangers. Maybe it's always going to be a bit of a gamble with a coach at this point. The other one that I quite like, Derek, is if you're going to put someone in till the end of the season, which I've got to be honest, I don't think will happen, but there's a lot of people talking about it, so I might as well play about with the idea. If you're going to put somebody in just to get Rangers through, some sort of dream team of ex-players, I could see Neil McCann being involved in that, because fiery personality, understands the club inside out, will be respected just because he carries that air. Neil McCann has got that. Whatever that is as a footballer, Neil McCann has that as a guy, that sort of charisma when they walk into a room. And he played very, very good football with Dundee. There's no doubt it was a roller coaster ride. It was up and down, and he was combustible, and he fell out with a few people. But I think he would continue the kind of style of football that Gerrard's been playing. So I could see that. But I suspect Ross Wilson is going to go down a different line. Perhaps it'll be somebody we've not heard of. But I have serious concerns about someone who doesn't know our game, Derek. Perhaps Rangers will be able to get someone who knows the British game, and that's obviously just as good.
Yeah,
but someone has to understand the kind of the way we play football in these aisles.
Yeah, talking about former players, John Cross, a respected journalist down here for the Mirror, suggested that Rangers had inquired about Russell Martin and Daz. Monks asked about that. Apparently, there's nothing in that. He just joined Swansea in the summer. Now, he's a highly respected coach down here, up-and-coming progressive manager. I'm not too sure he would have been ready for Rangers, and of course, his scar tissue after his disastrous loan spell as a player. So that one not getting off the ground. But there's going to be a number of names linked to Rangers. Billy Brown says Van Bronckhorst all day long. Rangers on tour goes Gio, Arthur and Moles, the dream team. It would be interesting if that was the management team appointed. Gattuso's also been mentioned, Johnny. Now, just for sheer box office and entertainment value, I'd be well on board with that idea. What say you?
Well, I mean, I don't think there's any doubt Rino Gattuso has been quite a good manager when he's been in Italy. Napoli are running away with the Serie A this season, and they've got a new manager, but Rino was there last season and the season before and sort of putting in the building blocks for that club. And I thought he did a decent job at AC Milan as well. So, yeah, but he's very combustible and just trying to comprehend what he would be like in the old firm environment with everything on top of him. I'm not sure. And I've got to be honest, I don't follow Italian football so closely that I would be able to tell you about his coaching philosophy and how he lays out his teams and what he would bring. So as an idea, it would definitely be entertaining, but would it be what Rangers need at this moment? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, that's for sure. Some other names being mentioned on the chat here. Thanks to everyone getting in touch. Incidentally, it's fantastic to hear your thoughts on this. Rangers on tours as went with you, Johnny, with respect to Neil McCann. He would like him in there in a coaching capacity. An interesting one here, John Ferguson says Shota. Now, I know he's a manager of Georgia at the moment, I believe, apparently linked to the Hull City job recently. He would be an interesting appointment. There's no doubt about it, and obviously that ex-player part of it as well is factored in. It's an interesting one, isn't it? But like you, I think it has to fit in with the style of play that Rangers are playing at the moment. Like you said at the top of the programme, you can't expect to change the style of playing, asking the likes of Jack and Kamara and all that to change how they've sort of been brought up to play in the last 2 or 3 years. It's sort of ingrained into them, isn't it? So you'd imagine Ross Wilson will be trying to attract a guy similar to the management team that are just about to leave. Yeah,
I mean, I should say that the obvious answer to all this is to appoint Michael Beale. But what we understand is that Michael Beale is going with Steven Gerrard. So, and I just don't think Michael Beale is hanging around. So I don't think that's an option. And it may well be that was not an option that Rangers discussed or felt like they wanted to go with, which is why they've not gone down that route. Or it might be that he just wants to continue his relationship with the club, with the manager that he's been working with for the last 3.5 years, which is probably understandable. It's a really difficult one, Derek. I'm seeing a lot of these names: John Terry, Sam Allardyce.
Listen, I'd take Big Sam right now. Short term, smacks against everything I've just said about philosophy and all that sort of stuff. But then he ticks the box in terms of a guy who has a track record of coming in short term and getting results and doing the business.
Yeah, I agree with you, but that's, again, at relegation-haunted clubs. So and it's totally different at Rangers. He's got to go out and create and win. And Sam Allardyce's teams have never been those type of teams, unless you go right back to the Bolton era when he had JJ Okocha, and they were sort of entertainers there in those days. But that's like 15, 20 years ago now, Derek. And I just don't think this setup and these players would necessarily mesh well with Sam Allardyce's sort of style of management. I think they need someone younger who's going to be more in touch with the kind of players. I don't get the impression that Rangers is full of bombastic, aggressive, 9-in-a-row types. The Richards Goffs of this world who are big characters, and that era where you could probably put a Sam Allardyce in the Ibrox dressing room and it would have been great. I think now they're needing more of a manager stroke coach. They clearly all looked up to Steven Gerrard, and I think they'll need someone who can lead them again. I think that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we'll leave it there. Thanks to everyone, as ever, for getting in touch with the programme. Really appreciate it. If you're watching us on YouTube, just remember to hit subscribe so you'll never miss a video when we go live, and also to take advantage of our fantastic subscription service at the Rangers Review, rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe to find details of that, to support top quality journalism covering the club you love. Yes, Johnny? I'm
going to break in. Just 25 seconds ago, Rangers can today announce the departure of manager Steven Gerrard.
Wow. Aston Villa. Breaking news.
So it is done.
Is that all? Is that the statement pretty much, Johnny?
There's a long statement. It says Gerrard moves to the Midlands club, having played a key role in the significant growth of the Light Blues in numerous areas during his 3.5 years at Ibrox. Rangers now has an outstanding, highly competitive playing squad, which is capable of both winning and entertaining on all fronts, with the highest of standards now also prevalent throughout the football department. In European competition, Rangers have qualified for group stage football for 4 successive seasons and knockout stage football in the last 2, improving not only the club's standing on the continent, but also that of Scottish football. Domestically, Rangers have flourished under Gerrard, and that work culminating in the club claiming their 55th title last season on the back of an unbeaten league campaign. He now leaves Rangers with the club top of the Scottish Premiership, with a Premier Sports Cup semi-final to look forward to, and the opportunity to qualify yet again for the knockout stages of the Europa League still in the team's own hands. And then we've got comments and quotes from Douglas Park. I'd like to firstly put it on record my thanks to Steven for his outstanding efforts over the last 3.5 years. He's provided us all with some unforgettable moments, not least his delivery of the Scottish Premiership title back to Ibrox last season, having not lost a match in the entire league campaign. In European competition, he has restored the good name and credibility of the club on the continent and leaves us in a very healthy position on the pitch. Ross Wilson said, "Firstly, I want to say thank you to Steven for the work, dedication and professionalism with which he has diligently carried out the role of Rangers manager. Steven and the backroom staff have ensured that the club is undoubtedly in a better place today than it was 3.5 years ago. I joined Steven on that journey just over 2 years ago, and from the first day we met, I have enjoyed all aspects of our partnership. We have shared a desire to move Rangers forward, to modernise our infrastructure and to make the club win again. Win again, not a game, as it sounded there. There have been so many areas that we have moved forward, and there is still so much to be done. But I can't stress enough how important it has been to have with us a first-team manager who shared a drive and desire to set standards and move the whole football operation forwards. I know how much it meant to Steven that our 55th League Championship was achieved last season, and alongside an excellent European record across his tenure, we've had some truly memorable days and nights. Personally, I am proud of the work we have done together along with all the players and staff, and I know Steven shares that pride. We wish him nothing but success for his next chapter. The Rangers Football Club would like to put on record their thanks to Steven and his staff and wish them every success in the future. They will always be welcome at Ibrox." Pretty classy statement from Rangers there.
Yeah. What do you make of that? Breaking news right here on the Rangers Review. Now official, Johnny. As what it is, I guess. Now it's time to look forward. But like you say, it is a classy message from Rangers. Full credit to them for that. But what's your initial take from that?
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't think it's a surprise to anyone. We're at the end of a 20-minute review here, and obviously prior to that, at the start of this, we said that we were going to see Steven Gerrard leave for Aston Villa, and that's come to be. So no surprise at all. But it's clear the club want to stay positive on this, and I think that's what will happen. I think Rangers are a club that always moves forward, and I think that's what we're going to see as of now.
Yeah, there you go, folks. Steven Gerrard announced as the Aston Villa manager. The search is well and truly on for his replacement. That'll do us there. I was going to say enjoy the rest of your day, but enjoy it as much as you can do, folks. We'll be back tomorrow for Friday's morning briefing with, I'd imagine, more news with regards to the possible replacement. But until then, bye for now.